NASCAR news results and highlights delivered straight to your inbox. Never miss a story or last lap pass by subscribing to the official NASCAR newsletter today. NASCAR.com/newsletter. Take a look at the rules for this group qualifying format. Round 1, all 40 cars will get out onto the track, and we will determine the fastest 24 will advance to round 2. That will set the field from 25 to 40. And in round 2, everyone fighting to be in the top 12. If you're in the top 12, you advance to round 3, where the pole will be determined and those top 12 starting spots.
So, all right, Jeff. As a crew chief, I know what I would do, but as a driver, what do? This track never seems to have the grip at the start of qualifying. The sun's going to continue to drop, making that entry to turn 1 worse, to a point in which it gets finally low enough that it gets better. But we also think the second round on tires might be faster. Do you run right away? What is the threshold? How long can you wait?
Wait at least 10 minutes, and that'll give you enough time to make a second run.
So nobody goes out in the first 10 minutes?
I didn't say that. I said I would wait 10 minutes.
Okay. Crew chief?
Yeah, well, you have to remember, too.
Absolutely. I'm with Jeff. Okay, mark this moment in time that Jeff and I agree completely on this, but it's basically you need to
4:44. Yeah. 4:44, November the 11th.
Okay, we agree.
Time 4:44.
You go out as late as possible where you know you can get a second run. That's the threshold.
We're seeing all these cars start to roll toward the exit of pit road, and I'm sure that quite a few of them will stop once they get there, just to position themselves on the racetrack. And once again, even though it's group qualifying, a lot will want a completely clear racetrack. They'll want to go out there where they don't have any other drivers that are affecting their line, affecting how they get into a turn or out of a turn. So, and this is what we were expecting. Roll right up to the front of the line and then stop.
And typically what we see in these kind of conditions, you'll see the cars that, probably don't have a chance to make the top 24. They'll go ahead and make their runs, and that's what these teams that are battling for the final 12 want to see. They want to see some other cars be on the racetrack. So they're just going to sit and wait. There's no need to go early. There's enough time to get in here and get it cooled down. Steve, you talked about it. We anticipate a great deal of cars making a second run. Probably half the field will have to make a second run. So, there's time. You don't get a lot of engine heat here because it's only a mile racetrack. So you get it cooled down quickly. So just sit here and wait.
And 2 laps? Will they take 2 laps? Try to make the best lap?
2, if you're on that bubble, I wouldn't be shocked if someone does 3.
Okay.
If they fail their second lap, maybe I missed turn 3. I think you have the engine temperature to run a third lap. A car that thinks they're fast enough, no. But when you look at practice and start listing names like Ricky Stenhouse 20th, Paul Menard 21st, Allmendinger 22nd, Trevor Bayne, Michael McDowell, Danica Patrick, they might get instruction to run a third lap.
Well, they might. And one thing that I noticed in practice was that Denny Hamlin went out and made a Q run, and his first lap was the fastest. So I think that's a huge advantage. If you can roll off and make speed on your first lap, that is a huge advantage. We're seeing the first car on the racetrack right now, the 27 of Paul Menard.
And he's going to kind of set the bar, right? He was 21st in practice at a 26:15, basically.
We'll see what he does. 26:15 is the mark, as you mentioned, that he was able to run in practice as he gets into the shade and wanted to.
Doesn't seem like he's at speed.
Oh, he just scuffed tires. That's all he did. He went out and just rolled tires in, attempting to try to only make one run.
You see a little of the dust coming off the back of that car. It gets dusty. It gets dirty out on this racetrack.
Well, we're in the desert and it's windy, so the dirt has to go somewhere.
So this is an interesting strategy. I like it. You go out, scuff your tires in, come in, cool the car back off. Then when you go back out, you have scuffed those tires in, and hopefully you can make a run and only have 2 hot laps on your tires. Because all he ran, he didn't even run a time lap.
Right.
So I like the strategy.
So far, he's the only one that has tried to take on this strategy, and he'll come back, as you mentioned, cool down the car.
We may see some more of that, though. Everybody watches on pit road, and some crew chiefs right now are contemplating. They're thinking, hey, that might be something worth looking at.
It's been 50 minutes since the Xfinity cars have been on the racetrack. We're in the desert, the dust blowing around. I mean, Jeff, how many times have you been out here to test? The track doesn't even come in until after lunch. Right? That takes hours to run on. But the one beautiful thing we have is we see Matt Pusher right there talking to Trevor Bayne. Trevor's not even in his race car. Is that big green box at the top of your screen. It's not going to stop. It's 16.5 minutes. So you can do all the strategy you want, but the simple fact is you can also strategy your way right into having a dirty lap with cars in front of you. So it's kind of, you have to figure out how long you can wait.
There is some danger in this. Remember, we saw Martin Truex Jr. and his team at Watkins Glen with perhaps the fastest car wait till the end of qualifying to go run because the track got faster and faster and they got blocked. And they didn't get a run in, and they weren't able to transfer. So there is a danger in waiting.
The importance of qualifying here is very big. Starting up front, it's a short race. Starting up front means you can play a little different strategy during the race, but it also means you have better pit selection. So it is very important, but at the same time, as quickly as I mentioned that, I'll counter it with Kevin Harvick has won 5 of the last 6 races at this racetrack, and his average starting position has been 10.
Yeah, but let's be honest, okay? When we talk about how qualifying is important, it's not necessarily the pole. 10th is still the top 25% of the cars that are here. Making that 3rd round, being in the top 12, while some of these drivers make it easy, I can assure you, and my buddy here, Mr. Qualifier next to me will agree, it's difficult. It's very difficult. So I would consider a top 10 a good starting position.
Hey, Steve, another thing to consider here, the radio traffic has been about waiting not just for this session and a little cooler temperatures, but also for maybe 10 or 12 cars to go out. Why is that? Even though the Xfinity Series is on the same tire on both sides as this series, some believe that the track has been, quote, hit and miss after Xfinity Series practice. So Kurt Busch's team, among others, saying, now we need about 10 cars to go before we feel comfortable taking our fast first lap.
Well, 10 cars, and as the sun continues to drop, there it is. You see it. It's bright. It's in your face. Well, that line right there from the Sweets going into turn 1, this line of shade, you see that's turn 1 right there. It's in the shade. So as we come back up the front straightaway, you're going to continue to see it shade, 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 but there's sun. And as that sun drops, that line of shade moves closer to the start finish. With then, Jeff, you kind of drive through. It's still wide open, and you're able to see your lifting point.
Yeah, it's a big difference in being able to see with the sun starting to set behind the grandstand.
David Reagan has decided he'd wait long enough. And so the 30-year-old out of Georgia has decided to make his way onto the track and set a mark, at least for everyone else to see. He goes through 3 and 4, the sweeping turns of this racetrack. In his first lap, 26.64.
It's a pretty decent first lap. He had only run a 53 in practice. So if he could pick up a little on his second lap, he will have improved from his practice time. You see him trending in the green as we follow Michael Annett into turn 1.
Michael Annett also trending in the green compared to Reagan's first lap.
Reagan is going to improve a little.
Back into the green for David Reagan. He goes 26.59, and Annett look like he'll have as much speed on this second lap. Mike.
And while we're starting to see a little bit more activity on the racetrack right now, there are still some drivers who are buckled in their race car waiting to go out, some who are standing outside their race car waiting to go out. Trevor Bayne is one of them. What is your game plan here for this qualifying session?
Well, I think we're going to go on the racetrack when everybody else does, and it's chaos. But if I get in the race car at the very beginning and we need to wait, I get too anxious and I end up being the first guy out there. So I'm standing out here to save my race team from my anxiety. I'm just going to wait till the end. You can see the track is cooling down, and a lot of shade coming into turn 1 here. It's actually tough visually as a driver. If you go out early in the session to see getting into turn 1, the sun shines halfway down the straightaway, and you can't see until you get into the corner. So that's one benefit of waiting. It's just visual. The other side of that is a cool track. And so we went out early last race here and kind of kicked ourselves in the butt for it. We needed to wait till the end, so I'm making sure that I wait till the end.
So there you go. Once bitten, twice shy, Rick. He's going to wait.
AJ Allmendinger, he's not going to wait. He's out on the track, and AJ, the 34-year-old out of California.
Eric, we've talked about lap times, but as AJ runs a 26.13, that's a little quicker than he ran in practice. I think the other thing that's important to talk about is while Larson and Logano ran some pretty impressive 80s to top the chart, if we just look from, say, 10th to 30th, 3.5 tenths of a second separate 20 race cars. So it doesn't take a whole lot.
This is Greg Galding. He's going to be making his second ever start in the Sprint Cup Series. Greg, one of the youngest competitors at 18 years old. And Greg Galding, of the 4 drivers that have been out there, he's currently 3rd quickest.
This is the car we saw was the fastest in practice, and 25.80 is what he ran in practice. So a little surprised to see him out on the racetrack this early. His first lap was a 26.14, so quite a bit slower than what he ran in practice.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're on the racetrack. Why? They must just feel they have enough speed that they don't have to wait for the preferred track. But I think we'll see how this second lap is. It looks a little free. I see the hands moving around a lot. We'll have to see what his second lap is. But at a 26.11, he's already slower than A.J. Allmendinger, who was 22nd in practice. So our fastest car in practice slower than our 22nd car in practice.
Denny Hamlin has decided to make his way out onto the track. Denny, 35-year-old out of Virginia. Denny Hamlin has had 2 opportunities to win a championship in the chase format, and both attempts have fallen short. He's still searching for his first title. And at this racetrack, Denny Hamlin has found success. He was able to win here in 2012.
Hamlin jumps to the top of the chart at 89.
25.89 is for Brian Scott.
He ran an 87 in practice, so I think they're comfortable with that speed.
Brian Scott made the announcement earlier this week that he will retire after the end of this season. So 2 more races for Brian Scott, and he's going to hang up the helmet and spend more time with his family.
You know, what a courageous decision, right? I mean, it's difficult to walk away from something. He obviously loves racing, but he just feels like he wants to spend more time with his family. And this is an all-encompassing sport. If you're going to be involved in it, it takes 100% of your time. And to be honest, everything has to come second. He just decided he didn't want his family to come second any longer.
Ricky Stenhouse had the dreaded tracking green on corner entry, tracking red on corner exit. We'll see if he gains back on entry. Not as bad that time. We'll have to see what kind of speed he carries off turn 4. We see Jamie McMurray here, though, on a very good lap.
And McMurray was 6th fastest in practice, so we'll see where he ends up.
His first lap was 4th quickest. He goes to 2nd quickest on that lap, as Brad Keselowski also taking to the track now. Things heating up as we've broken under the 10-minute mark remaining, now closing in on 9 minutes to go.